Hello dear friends, welcome to my channel Quick Literature Guide. In this video, I am going to take you back to the remarkable period in the history of English literature, the Age of Chaucer. Here, I have covered all the important historical events that happened during this period along with the socio-economic changes of that time. I have included all the important points and discussed each of them in very simple way. For a clear and better understanding, do not skip the video and watch till the end. So let's get started. The Age of Chaucer refers to the historical period in England during the 14th century when Geoffrey Chaucer, one of the most renowned English poets, lived and wrote. The general timeline of the Age of Chaucer is 1340 to 1400. So you must remember the timeline. 1340 to 1400 is known as the Age of Chaucer. The Age of Chaucer is also known as the Age of Transition, and Chaucer is the first transitional poet. At this point, we must also know what are the other first positions of Chaucer. Chaucer is the first story writer. He is the first modern writer, first writer of Reformation along with Wycliffe, first writer of Renaissance, and he is also known as the grandfather of English novelists. Let us discuss why this age is called the Age of Transition. So, there were 5 transitions that happened during this period. First transition was the transition from prose to poetry. So earlier, during the Old and Middle English period, writers were fond of using decasyllabic couplets, which is similar to prose style of writing. But later, during Chaucer's age, the writers preferred to write in verse form. So, the first transition was transition from prose to poetry. The second transition was from descriptive to narrative. Earlier, the writers used to dedicate a good length of writing in a detailed description of characters, places, etc. But later, the writers shifted their focus more on the narration than the description. The third transition was from idealistic literature to realistic literature. During the Old and Middle English periods, more works of literature conveyed an idealized vision of human life, often drawing upon religious, moral, or chivalric ideals. For example, The Dream of the Road, an Old English poem, presents an idealized vision of Christ's crucifixion, depicting the cross, the road, as a heroic figure and emphasizing themes of sacrifice, redemption, and spiritual triumph. Another example is Beowulf. While primarily an epic poem, Beowulf contains elements of idealism, portraying the titular hero as a paragon of virtues such as courage, loyalty, and honor. Beowulf embodies the ideal warrior who fights for glory and the well-being of his people. Next example is Arthurian romances of the Middle English period. They are the tales which include works like Sir Gawain and the Green Knight and Les Mortes d'Arthur. They are steeped in chivalric ideals. They depict knights engaged in quests and adventures, emphasizing virtues like loyalty, honor, courage, and courtly love. Idealistic literature often incorporated religious motifs and moral teachings, reflecting the dominant values and beliefs of the time. But during the Age of Chaucer, this changed and realistic literature emerged as a significant literary trend. This period witnessed a shift towards portraying everyday life and human experiences with greater realism and detail. For example, Geoffreychaucer's magnum opus, The Canterbury Tales. This exemplifies the realistic literature of the period. The collection consists of various stories narrated by a diverse group of pilgrims traveling to Canterbury. Chaucer provides vivid descriptions of the characters, their social backgrounds, and their interactions, offering a nuanced depiction of medieval society and its complexities. Other examples include Piers Plowman, written by William Langland, Fabliaux. So, we may see the change from idealistic to realistic literature very clearly through these examples. Next transition was from local to standard dialect. Earlier, the Angles, the Saxons, and the Jutes, they had many local dialects, and those dialects were used in writings. But during the age of Chaucer, the use of standard dialects such as French and Latin became popular in writing. The last and the major shift, the major transition was the transition from French and Latin to English language. The major change that happened during this period was the change in the use of language from French and Latin to English. It became the language of court in 1362, the language of parliament in 1363, the language of teaching or the medium of teaching in the year 1368. So these were the transitions that happened during the age of Chaucer, due to which we call it the age of transition. Now let's move on to the next point of our discussion. In the age of Chaucer, three major historical events happened. They are the Hundred Years of War, the Black Death, and the Peasants' Revolt. Now let's have a brief discussion on each of them separately to understand it properly. The Hundred Years' War was a long-running conflict between England and France for the land holding that France had of England, and it lasted from 1337 to 1453. We must remember the timeline because it is named Hundred Years' War, but actually it was fought for 116 years. Many battles were fought during these 100 Years' War, from which three major battles that England won due to longbowmen method. They are Battle of Crecy, 1346, Battle of Poitiers, 1356, Battle of Agincourt, 1415. The war had a significant impact on England as it consumed resources, created political tensions, and influenced English national identity. Chaucer himself served in the war as a soldier and diplomat. The second major historical event was the Black Death. The mid-14th century saw the devastating outbreak of the bubonic plague, commonly known as the Black Death. It first reached England in 1348, and within 4 to 5 years, it took lives of almost one-third of the population. The impact of the plague was profound, leading to social and economic disruptions. It led to the development of science and medical, at the same time questioning on the healing power of religion. People started questioning. The third major historical event that happened during this period is the Peasant Revolt. In 1381, the Peasants' Revolt erupted in England. It was a major uprising of the rural population against socio-economic inequality and oppressive feudal conditions. The revolution was led by Wat Taylor and John Ball. This revolt was sparked by a series of factors, including increased taxation, which the peasants were paying to fund 100 Years' War, labor shortages after the Black Death, and a desire for political representation. Hence, they captured the Tower of London to reach to their goals. So, these were the major historical events that happened during the age of Chaucer, which we must remember. After discussing the historical events, let us move to another important point, that is the social and economic changes of that time. We will explore 4 key changes that occurred during this time. First, the decline of the feudal system. Second, the rise of the middle class. Third, urbanization. Fourth, and the last, the influence of literary patronage. The first change was the decline in the feudal system. So, the feudal system was the prevailing social structure in medieval England. It was based on a hierarchical relationship between lords and vassals with a king at the top. This age shows a decline in the feudal system due to the Black Death. Due to the Black Death, what happened? There was shortage of laborers and decline in the power of the nobility. It weakened the power dynamics within the feudal system. The next change was rise of the middle class. The 14th century witnessed the growth of a prosperous middle class, mainly composed of merchants, tradesmen, and professionals. This emerging social group had increasing influence and wealth, leading to changes in societal dynamics. The third change was urbanization. One of the notable changes during Chaucer's time was the growing importance of cities and towns. Trade flourished in urban areas, leading to economic growth and prosperity. The increased urban population created new opportunities for employment and social mobility. The fourth and important change during this time is the influence of literary patronage. During Chaucer's time, literary patronage played a significant role in supporting writers and poets. Patrons from the nobility provided financial support, enabling talented individuals like Chaucer to focus on their works. These social and economic changes that occurred during Chaucer's time were significant and had a lasting impact on society. Geoffrey Chaucer, through his literary works, provided us with valuable insights into the changing dynamics of his time. We will explore Chaucer's life and works in the next video. Till then, keep learning, keep sharing. If you like the video, hit the like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening.